The Habs are one of the most represented teams at the World Juniors, with key players like Owen, Beck, Lane Hutson, and recent #1 Habs prospect power rankings player Jacob Fowler all making a name for themselves at this tournament. We're going to be discussing the rise of Jacob Fowler, how he could steal the #1 goalie spot, a bit of Owen Beck and Lane Hutson action, plus a note on Bogdan Konyushkov, who has recently been wearing the C in a tournament in Russia. We got all that on this episode of Habs Digest. But as always, guys, again, I apologize for doing this every video, but 58. Actually, it's lower now. It's 57. I need to update the graphic, but you guys are subscribing like crazy, and we really appreciate it. But if you're part of that percentage, those thousands of people watching every day that aren't subscribed, help us hit 10K. 10,000's right around the corner. I know you guys want to see us hit it. We really want to hit it. And if you could just hit that button and help us out, we'd really appreciate it. Let's jump first into a bit of Lane Hutson versus Owen Beck talk, Jesse. And this is sort of a marquee matchup, and while Jacob Fowler maybe at this point is seen as maybe a better prospect than Owen Beck, I don't even know. Beck at least has an NHL game. There's a lot of talk between the two, and Owen Beck appeared in 3 games at last year's tournament. He's the lone returnee this year, and he's likely to wear a letter for Team Canada, of course, being one of the most significant players. But then you also got Lane Hutson for Team USA. Their top defenseman said it's going to be a long tourney. You got to be ready for anything. And at Boston University, just being put in certain situations, I could potentially be put in here, will be a huge help. I'm ready for it, and I'm excited. And I'm excited. I mean, these two guys arguably being the most notable, well, maybe not most notable for Owen Beck. Yeah, like Mac and Celebrini, you got other guys, but he's going to be wearing a letter versus Lane Hutson. All eyes are on him for Team USA. This is just, it's shaping up to be one of the most exciting World Juniors for Habs fans in a long time.
It's so true. And I feel like going into this season, like the Habs, like they were touted as having one of the best prospect pools in the NHL. But I think we can say now with the development as this year has gone on, that we have the best prospect pool in the NHL. And let us reiterate why. We got Bogdan Konyushkov, who's going to be captain for Russia in their respective play. We got Owen Beck, who's very likely going to be captain for Team Canada, playing a leading role, all the same for them. Then we got 2 of the main players for Team USA, which is one of the favorites going into this tournament, one of the strongest teams in Lane Hutson, and also in Cam Fowler.
Jacob.
Like, we're basically taking, right? Excuse me, Jacob Fowler.
I do that all the time.
Right? He's not in the NHL yet. He's almost there. He's almost there. Shout out Anaheim. Yeah, no, but anyway, it's like we really see how these guys are developing, not only to be key players on their teams, but then also leaders as well. So just so amazing when we just see, these guys really, really developing, really coming into their own. And so nice to see Lane that he's excited and that he's ready to play. He's been put all these different situations. People that say, oh, he's just an offensive guy, but he's been playing in all situations, with Boston. And then, coming into this tournament, very much the same. He's going to be put into all these types of situations. So I think he's going to really thrive, just as he has his whole career.
He's going to be asked to do some penalty kill, I'm sure, at some point. He's going to be on the power play. He's going to be asked to be one of their primary play drivers. It's going to be tough. This tournament is unforgiving, and it's going to be super exciting to see it. But you're very right, Jesse, about the leadership. We're going to get into Bogdan in a minute, too. But, of course, if Owen Beck wears the captaincy, I think that's going to be the 3rd Hab in the last, 5 years to wear that C. Because Kirby Dach, well, he got injured before the tournament, but he was lined up to wear the captain. And Cayden Guhle captained the team as well. The Habs are really picking leaders, right? And they go after those qualities, that drive, like we've seen from Slav, like we've seen from a guy like Jacob Fowler, all this stuff. And we're going to get into them a bit later in the video, but it's just super exciting to see this marquee Canada-USA matchup, Owen Beck versus Hutson versus Fowler. We'll get into it a bit. Stick around for him because we got some crazy stuff to talk about. But yeah, really, really pumped for this. But let's move on second to Bogdan. And while Russia's not playing in the World Juniors, I'm pretty sure, I think there's some stuff going on there, but Bogdan keeps growing. There was a 3v3 tournament going on in Russia, and Bogdan, one of the Habs prospects over in Russia, was wearing the C. I mean, he's been doing really, really well. And, we talk about him as being sort of an under-the-radar Habs prospect. And while he's maybe not their top guy, his production in the KHL for the league it is, for the age he's at, for the ice time and responsibility he's getting, it's really amazing. And clearly is a good leader, too. You can pause and read all this if you want. I'll summarize. But basically, stats only tell part of the story. His shot is great, good placement, good accuracy. It's very natural. His passing is sharp, it's accurate, and he uses it at the right times. And in the defensive zone, he keeps up with cycling forwards. He's comfortable switching. He gets his stick in the right lanes. He does kind of all the right things. And while he definitely has some things to work on, like his skating and maybe like his positioning a bit more, he looks to be really good, Jesse. Just another one of these leadership guys that the Habs management just seem to always hit on.
It's true. And, definitely the odds are stacked against him as a fourth rounder. Only about, kind of 20% of these guys end up making the NHL, but he seems to be defying the odds and really just doing all the things that he needs to, just playing so much ice time. He's really developing. He's really growing, right? So it's really interesting to see that we're pretty smart, pretty frugal with these fourth round picks. It's like, even though it's not the best probability of these guys panning out, he seems to be a guy where his game is picking up at the right time. And to be honest, the way that he's being so relied upon, the way that he's really expanding on his game, I wouldn't be surprised seeing him here in Canada one of these days.
Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, again, he's signed for another few years in the KHL, and honestly, he could use some development there. And we actually, in that article by Patrick Beck, so a wonderful, wonderful writer, content creator for the Montreal Canadiens as well. Bogdan he could really use some extra work maybe in the AHL, and that's something we could be looking at. Like, it wouldn't shock me if in a few years he comes over, plays in the AHL for a bit, and just ends up being a very solid rotation defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. A lot of stuff to love about Bogdan Konyushkov. Wish we could see him a bit more, but hey, he's progressing. We're going to keep you updated on him. We definitely like to talk about him here. So yeah, there's your occasional Bogdan Konyushkov update. But now it's time for the juicy stuff. It's time to get into Jacob Fowler. This is a bold question. The answer, in my opinion, is still no. I mean, that is still Lane Hutson, and I think most people would agree with that. Well, it depends how you define Slafkovsky, I suppose. But still, when you're talking about Jacob Fowler, I mean, he's at number 1 in the prospect power rankings this week for Mac Dumont. Now, of course, this is power rankings. It's week over week, and Fowler had a really hot week while someone like Hutson had a less than hot week. 4 assists in 3 games is still insane for Hutson, but he put Fowler number 1. On the season, 17 games, 13-3-1 with a 216 goals against, 925 save percentage. Recent results, 4-1-0 with a 921. While other prospects had a down week heading into the World Juniors, Jacob Fowler continued to be a dominant force for Boston College. He said, I think it's a blessing for both of us to be here. Him and Trey Augustine and I are going to really push each other the whole tournament. We're here for the same reason, no matter who's in net. We both have the same goal to win a gold medal. And a lot of people think that Jacob Fowler could take that starting spot from Trey Augustine, who not that long ago was essentially penciled in to be the guaranteed number 1. Fowler has had an amazing season. Even Team USA's head coach said this decision might even not happen until we're in the tournament. What are your thoughts on Fowler? And because I mean, he is, I know we look at someone like Cayden Primeau who had similar stats, and he's still maybe taking longer than we thought, but it's still just such an amazing feeling to see this guy do what he's been doing.
It's great because Jacob Fowler really has star potential. And this is the thing that I really like about Jacob Fowler. Is like, even though he's pitted against Trey Augustine, another very good young goalie for Team USA, he's the type of guy where he wants that top spot. He wants that number 1. He wants to finish the tournament as the USA's top goalie, right? So that's what kind of separates him from so many of these other prospects, is just really not only is his physical, capabilities, but it's really his mindset. You can tell that's what's different about Jacob Fowler. Like, this guy's just a winner. He's got that fire a little bit about him. So that's what I'm really excited to see. And I think that this is the type of elements in his game that's really going to propel him to the top.
I like the play on words there, fire and elements. Oh, that's his element. He's a fire type. Hopefully there's no water types to. I mean, I guess he plays on ice. That's good. Anyway, but Jacob Fowler is, like you said, that fire and that thing we saw in his draft interview. Again, just like, I feel like we're hammering this point home today, but the mentality of a lot of Habs prospects, and that's clearly something management is looking for. And like we've said, you got to think Fowler will be upset at himself if he doesn't get this spot. He's a guy who said, I've been overlooked my whole career, not anymore. And he's finally proving everyone wrong. Look at what he's doing in the NCAA. Look at what he's doing for Team USA right now, and making an argument to be over Trey Augustine. This guy could end up being the best goalie from his draft class. I don't think it's that crazy to say that it's a possibility. Now, again, there's a lot of development to go. There's a lot of stuff he still needs to work on. He's not going to step in the NHL and be a star tomorrow, but in 3, 4, 5 years, when this team's getting ready to contend, don't be surprised if you see Jacob Fowler knocking at the door. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 10,000. Really appreciate every single one of you that takes time out of your day to watch these videos. We love you all. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.